Hey guys, I want to talk about something that comes up a lot in conversation with people when I'm talking about spending time every day to work on yourself, be it meditating, speaking declarations, contemplating things, reading, anything that's going to take time by yourself to work on yourself so that you can be better, create more, be more at peace, more successful in your life, right? And everybody gets the idea that, yeah, it would help, but I just don't have. A lot of times the answer is I don't have time for that. Maybe you're working a lot and you just don't have time, or one of the most common ones that I hear is that I've got a family, I've got the kids, I've got this, I've got that. That's often seems like it's the hardest nut to crack, because I'm not going to just forget about my kids and just spend time by myself. It starts to sound and feel selfish to do that. So I want to present two possibilities to how you can work on yourself despite not having any time. The first is to see how actually a lot of the stuff that is working on yourself can be done while doing the other things that you're already doing. You don't actually need to have time by yourself to work on yourself. So we think I need to be alone in order to work on this, but actually by being with the person you can work on the same thing. So let me give an example. A guy that I'm good friends with, a Ukrainian guy here in LA, and he was running a cafe and also acting, and was asking me for tips on places that he could learn to improve his American accent. And I just said, well, why don't you just practice mimicking your customers that come in every day? And it was like the kind of blindsided. I was like, oh my God, that's so obvious. I don't need to go take a course. I'm talking all day long with Americans. If I just bring up the idea with them that I'm practicing my accent and mimic them and ask them how I sound, it's like constant practice all the time. For me personally, if I want to work on being unconditionally loving, I can sit and I can contemplate and I can do a metta meditation and I can feel into love and feeling loving and being loving, or I can sit and play with my son and I can utilize that playing as a chance to practice internally cultivating loving kindness towards him and with him. So that's the concept of not waiting until I have time by myself to start to practice these things, and just actually using the context of my life to practice them. That's the first answer. But the second answer, I think, is a better answer because it's more direct and it's a bit more challenging. And that is this. If you have the idea that you don't have time to work on yourself, and the first thing you need to acknowledge is that it's just an idea. It's not true, it's an idea. And the idea that I don't have time, just the way of speaking about it, is actually you not being in a place of power in relationship to time. To have time is something, it's like it's bestowed upon you. The priorities of your life and how you're using your time are bestowed upon you. You're not making that choice. When you speak it that way, I don't have time. The important thing to remember is that everything you're using your time for is your choice. Be it conscious or unconscious, it is your choice. And so when you come in contact with that, what you have to look at is, the reality is, I'm not choosing to prioritize working on myself and taking time in solitude over everything else that I'm using time for. And that's a really important and powerful step, because the moment you do that, you kind of have to gulp and be like, okay, I'm making that decision. And then you have to look at, well, how am I actually using all 24 hours of my day? And you'll see things like what I'll see sometimes, like, I just don't have time in the mornings. But actually, at night, when my wife goes to bed, I'm spending 45 minutes watching something crappy on Netflix by myself, while I could be going to bed and getting up 45 minutes earlier, and all of a sudden there is time. And so it's not just how much time do I have in the morning, the way I think about it. It's like, where is there time in the day that can be shifted to another point in the day by removing that and compressing everything else. So it may be in the middle of the day that I'm wasting time or using time in a way that is less valuable than spending time just in the morning would be, and I can remove that, compress everything down, finish work earlier, start dinner earlier, get to bed earlier, and all of a sudden I get up earlier and there's more time in the morning. But the most important thing here, you get how to move time around and just reschedule things. The place where people really get hung up is the way they speak about their relationship to time. I don't have time, there isn't time. It's just like, my hands are tied, I'm handcuffed, time is what it is, I'm not choosing this. That disassociation from your choice, from your power, is where the whole problem lies. So the first step is seeing that and owning that and being like, Every single thing that I'm using my time for is my choice. And then from there, well, let me look at that. Am I prioritizing it in a way? Am I using my time that's really coherent with my values, with what matter most to me? And most of the time we're not. I mean, it takes a lot of consciousness and attention to bring the use of our time into total coherence with our values, with what matters most to us, because we're just not paying that much attention to it. And also, our values evolve and change over time, and a lot of times we're using our time habitually based on values we had in the past, and they're just not true for us anymore. I went through that a lot, and I'm still going through it, having used my time in a certain way for 37 years of my life, and then all of a sudden having a baby, and now all of my values are shifting, and how I'm using time has to shift to match that. And as he changes and what his needs are change, then my values to that change, and it's a constant evolution. So, I mean, I'm checking in on a weekly, monthly basis about how I'm using my time, and do I want to change that to match what's true for me now? So constantly tweaking, and resetting the use of time based on my values. The other piece of it is like seeing how taking time by myself in solitude, although it's not directly influencing my experience with I guess it kind of is directly influencing. Here's what I'm trying to say. It may look like to take an hour or a couple of hours to myself every day is a bit selfish. It's like to be really, to be there for my family means to literally physically be there and be around. It's an idea. I don't really believe that's true, that being around is the thing that actually has me most serve them. I like the idea of, or the metaphor of when you plant a tree, right? If you want to plant a tree in a busy area, in a city, for example, you've got a patch of soil maybe broken in the sidewalk and you want to plant a tree there, you don't just take a tiny little sapling and put it in the ground and like cross your fingers and walk away, right? What do? You put a tree in the ground, you put 2 wooden stakes next to it, you tie strings to that, and you put a fence around the little sapling. And you come and you actually take care of it and you water it, but you protect it. You ring fence it, they say. You ring fence the thing until it grows strong enough that the fence can be removed because somebody's not going to bump into it or step on it and crush it, but maybe the stakes are still there. Then after a while, as the trunk gets strong enough, then you cut the strings and pull the stakes out. And then it can stand by itself. And I think the same applies to what's working on ourselves. And if we don't ring fence time to be in solitude on a regular basis, then the level of our consciousness, the level of our presence isn't enough such that we can even access practicing these ideas and working on ourselves within the context of the day. So like if I start my day without some ring fence time, personally, then I'm more likely to be in reaction to these circumstances and events around me, and less likely to be able to access a level of awareness that has me be in the present moment in a way that's constructive and generative toward the ideal self that I hold. So ring fencing time on a daily basis, ring fencing time on a regular basis, me more specifically taking solitude every single morning to be alone, to be by myself, to be with myself. For me, that means getting up before everybody else. For you, maybe in something different, going away from the house. I know people who do that, and it works really well too. But ring fencing that time allows me to move from sapling to solid trunk so that I can have the fence off the rest of the day and be amongst everybody and carry with me the state of being that gives me access to using every circumstance for the creation of myself. If I don't start that time off in the morning, the day's kind of a lost cause in a lot of ways. It's hard for me to utilize moment by moment those situations for growth because I'm just trying to get through the day as a little sapling without getting trampled. So, in essence here, first thing I said is integrate and use the circumstances of your life for your self-work, fine, and more importantly to the point, if you're saying you don't have time, accept the fact that you're making a choice. And it may not be a choice that's most coherent with your values. If you look at how you're using all the rest of your time throughout the day, and if you look at how you actually working on yourself and taking time for yourself, even though you're not physically around your family or whoever you need to be around for the full 24 hours of the day and you're spending time alone, that 1 to 2 hours alone will actually create a higher quality of being in the other 22 hours that makes those 2 hours that you're not there very worthwhile. I hope that clears things up. I hope it challenges you. I hope you have some resistance, but also are saying, shit, maybe I need to look at this. If you have more specific questions around how to actually bring this on pragmatically in your life, ask me. It's easier to handle that kind of stuff in text. Thank you so much for watching. And if you haven't already checked out my Creators Circle that's starting in July, please find where to the link and check it out. And if you've been watching my videos for a while, it may be time for us to be into a conversation and see what we can create in a one-to-one dialogue. I love you for being here. Much love, and talk to you soon. See ya.